What's going on, everybody? Live once again. We're going through the player props to take a look at for today's slate. Give me 1 second, as always, to get a promotion out. We're going to go game by game. We're going to take a look at player props specifically for this week's slate using the amazing props.cash to do all of our player prop research. For this week's slate using the amazing props. Sorry about that. Other computer going off. Bad night last night on Thursday Night Football. No way about it. Went 0, didn't hit a touchdown bet. Straight bets as well that were 1U that we saw some EV on. Also did not get to the window. All in the game we played, we had a huge Monday. We had a pretty solid Sunday. Week 1 was awesome. Not going to win every single game day, of course. And, all in the game. Obviously never want tailors to, do poorly. But with that being said, if you're going to have a -3 unit day on an NFL slate, on a 1 game particularly as well, that's quite literally all in the game. So sorry for the boys who tailed, but also I lost money with you. And don't really, if you play this game, you know that losses are inevitable. Not every day is going to be a great read. And what are you going to do? What we're going to do, as a matter of fact, is we're going to bet some stuff right now live using props.cash, and we're going to make sure that we had a great week 3 on Sunday. So again, getting the promo out for the boys live now, and let's start digging in. We're going to go game by game. We're going to look at all the markets. I have some spots out that I've already looked to target already. So for those spots, we can get through them quickly and talk about what we like, but also we're going to see what we can find to get convinced to bet using props.cash. So let's go game by game. I'll be betting everything. I have my note tab as well. Yesterday's stream, no bueno. I lost the Ty Johnson touchdown. Reek 6+ receiving. We hit Malik Washington 3+ receptions. The lost his receiving yards on that close call on whether or not that was a lateral, though it did seem like it was a lateral all in the game. Reek first touchdown, no, we did hit a touchdown. And James Cook under 72.5 rush yards. I mean, that was a loser in the first quarter. I don't think actually, but it looked like it was going to be. It was a big loser. Saw some EV compared to the market. Didn't win. That's going to happen. Let's talk about it. So I will give overall game breakdowns, but we are going to be, of course, looking for prop bets here. Indianapolis at Tennessee. Daniel Jones lighting the world on fire, as we know. Something I'm not too shocked about because, as you guys have seen on stream, I've been a fan of DJ and what he can do, and so far so good. Tennessee, Cam Ward has looked bad. I was kind of a Cam Ward truther after week 1, but after week 2 against still a good defense, he does not look great. Jones at 211.5, which is so low. Let's dive into this here as he's blown that number out of the water. I know last week the number was even lower. It was 200.5, which I know that also was the same number week 1. A lot of people bet the under for DJ in week 2 because they probably just expected a situation for Daniel Jones to have a rough game in his first start against a actually good defense rather than the Miami Dolphins defense that we know is abysmal. That was projected to be a bit abysmal. But this number still looks low. So far this season, the Titans defense, if you look at some of the stats that props.cash has, they let Bo Nix, they kept him under that 176. Bo Nix looked terrible. And this is a defense that was pretty good last year. And Matt Stafford absolutely torched his line, which is a much more comparable, player in terms of skill level at this point right now than Daniel Jones. So pass attempts, 34 in week 1. We know Jonathan Taylor is still absolutely cooking, even though DJ is throwing well. 22 and 23 completions respectively. So fewer completions for DJ. This is something though that looks already interesting. This is the first game outside, though. It's not like it's going to be nice in Tennessee, but first road game on the season. And looking at some of the injury reports here, nothing too crazy there. DJ touchdown, what's that? 170. Yeah, so that value's all gone. We hit that week 1 when it was 280 or something like that. That's no longer there. Passing touchdowns, 1.5. Has gone under in both games. He's been stealing those touchdowns from JT. This is a short list currently. Looking at the rest of the market, we have underdog as low as 209.5. That looks like a good play. DraftKings as low as 213, but DJ passing yards is intriguing. Let's look through some other things. So rush yards, JT's at 90.5. I saw this, closer to the 88 mark. Shot up, and we know what JT's usage has been out of this world. Snap count 71 against Miami, 93 against Denver in a game that was close where they needed him, and he, came through. Yards after contact. That can't be. That could definitely be right. 109. So he's just running through people crazy. Only one broken tackle though. That doesn't kind of add up there. But JT, this number is really high. Receiving yards, we'll take a look at Pollard, Taylor. Let's get Ridley. So he went over against the Rams. This Colts secondary is definitely not great, and Cam Ward, of course, has not been looking like all too hot so far. This is a pretty low number. I'm curious what he did against them last year. I know it is a new season, but last year he had a 0 piece. I don't know if he played in that one. Maybe he just got shut out. I don't remember the game script there. But 78 toward the end of the season. Of course, new quarterback. So just want to get some context there out of curiosity. Calvin Ridley, 50.5 seems a little bit low. Looking at the market here, FanDuel's at 52.5. And DK and Fanatics are hitting those 50.5s, and MGM as well. I'm intrigued a little bit by Ridley this week. I like his output potential. Another player, though, I like this kid, Alec. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name here. Ayomanor. He had 56 catches last week, 6 targets, which is always nice for a rookie wide receiver. Scored the one someone said Will Levis, the one Cam Ward touchdown so far this season. He was the one who hauled in that pass that was all the way crazy across the field, which is actually just like a nuts throwing catch. Very lucky. I had Ayomanor Tutty in that one, so that was like a nice cash. Prize Picks down to 34.5. That's pretty decent. FanDuel, they'll hang at 35.5. On the Colts side, looking at some of the statistics, Tyler Warren's been an absolute monster. I don't want 2024 ranks, honestly, so I'm not going to really pay attention to some of these defensive analysis right there. Tyler Warren crushed this number in both of his games so far. He looks like an absolute beast. What is his receptions? 4.5, 130. That seems pretty standard in market as well. All the way up to 191 on Underdog, which is no value to the under either, though. That's just like terrible pricing there on Underdog. MGM, though, best price on the over. DraftKings or FanDuel on the under. Looks pretty decent at MGM. I think this is a game that kind of profiles, though, as an under game. I think the Colts are going to come down to earth a little bit at some point. The Titans' defense is solid, and the Colts overall, they're just running on all cylinders right now. On the flip side here, the Titans' offense is really basically abysmal. I want to look at Chig, though. Cam Ward, I really do think he has some long-term outlook overall, but as it currently stands, he's just not a good football player. That doesn't mean he's not going to have a good career. He has been feeding Chig, though. 4 targets week 1, converted 3 of those 4. 6 in week 2, converting 4 of 6. That's interesting. But digging into FanDuel at DK, Chig minus 111, 3.5 receptions. I like that a lot, honestly. Look at last year, not a lot to take away from. They did feed him. Cam Ward's definitely been looking for Chig Okonkwo. So I'm definitely intrigued by Chig there in the reception market at 3.5. Josh Downs getting more love, but I think that was kind of more just like a byproduct of Pittman being shadowed by Surtain, or if Surtain was just on the left side of that game there. I think that's kind of what had Pittman's output be a lot less than wide receiver 1 status, like 40 yards. And we saw Downs turn up, but that's not going to be the case necessarily. I know, of course, the Tennessee secondary is pretty solid. This is too low. I like Pittman over 44.5 rec yards, honestly. That's going to be the first one of the day. Let's look at the market here. I'm writing it down, and I'll only confirm. I'll delete it if the odds don't look good. But this is a quick write down here and a quick bet depending on the odds, or am I deleting this? Minus 114 at DK. Sleeper there. Let me just confirm on DK here. Let me just confirm on DK here. Because I want to make sure that the odds are available. Sometimes these odds on Props.cash don't auto update. They're not necessarily real time here. Indianapolis, I'm looking for. Titans, player props, receiving yards. Let's see. I'm looking at passing. That's why I'm where is he? That's why, because I'm looking at passing. Receiving yards over under. Oh, released at 50.5. So these are definitely delayed, unfortunately. I don't like it as much as 50.5, 10 to 44.5. That's a massive difference. I don't know how much that has actually moved in the market, though, unfortunately, there. Only got an hour today, so I'm going to go pretty quickly game by game. But this is one of my favorite features of Props.cash, the historical lines, to see how different positional groups have done against their lines. As you see Puka and Tay, they just blew by this number against the Titans. Sutton did as well. Franklin had a very low line, but we see Franklin's like WR1. Like these two numbers were just kind of flip-flopped. That's what just the market's expected. But Sean Payton did Sean Payton things, and he is showing so far that Troy Franklin is running more routes, getting more targets, and is on the field more often. To running backs in receiving yards, Kyren went over, very low number. Dobbins didn't get over. Harvey, and then tight ends, Higbee blew over this number. And Evan Ingram went under, but I don't think that's a massive indictment on Ingram. I know he got hurt as well. He just needs high volume to be successful. And the fact that he did not have such a high volume is just not how the Broncos run their offense. They have obviously Courtland Sutton, Troy Franklin. They have a lot of faith in clearly as well. He's been on the field as much as almost Sutton. Sutton's 1, he's 2. But rush yards here, RJ Harvey, he went over. Dobbins as well. Kyren did not get there, but that was a Blake Corum. He kind of took over in that end of the game. He had that final game-winning drive there and ran it down. So Pittman at 50.5 is much different than 44.5, though I still do directionally lean towards Pittman's over, but I'm not going to go out and say that's a play. We can check some EV closer to Sunday, but Pittman, I think that the reason why his usage was down was just a matchup situation. He still clearly is the number one guy. And I'm also still intrigued by Warren. So if we're looking for receivers in this one, I still like Colt Stacks. I still like Daniel Jones over pass yards. I still like Pittman over receiving yards. I still like Warren. Usual suspect kind of game for me, in my opinion, for the 2025 Indianapolis Colts. Patriots, Steelers, Aaron Rodgers, Drake May. Now, these two defenses, I think both stink badly. Even though New England's, it's how bad are they? Week 1. Let's look at Drake May here. It's okay, they played Vegas, whose defense is probably bad. Drake May had a good passing yard game, though they obviously got kind of smoked there. Only 230 against Miami, but the offense did run a lot smoother, though, albeit they did benefit from that late turnover, and they did get a lot of third down conversions that aren't really sustainable. A little bit of an outlier game there, but Sam Darnold threw all over them, absolutely cooked them. Justin Fields absolutely cooked them as well. On the flip side here, looking at the Patriots, Tua was throwing it well until he threw that game-ending pick, and Geno absolutely torched them in a great game for Geno. So I don't know how good these secondaries are. I know Christian Gonzalez might play. Both these numbers seem a little bit too low, but Drake Mays actually seems lower than I'd like. Let's look at rush from a market perspective. I actually definitely directly lean to that over. Drake May rushing, Fields went over, but barely. Darnold, not a big rusher, so not surprised there. Looking at running backs, Breece ran rampant over them, and Kenneth Walker did as well. So let's pull up the RBs here. Travion cannot pass pro, so he's not seeing a ton of snaps. Only 10 rushing yards in that game. Only 32 snaps in snap percentage, 32% snap percentage. That's obviously a big distinction there. I don't know what his usage is going to be, unfortunately. And Ramondre, he looked good in Miami, 54. Playing 65% of the snaps in that one as well. I don't know that the Patriots are going to have a run game over the course of the season as good as Seattle or even the Jets. Both of those teams have the Jets have a much more improved offensive line, and Seattle's just offensive play style is definitely more run the ball. They definitely have an emphasis on that. So really not sure what to love there. But let's look at some receiving yard stuff. Booty 34.5. DK Metcalf 58.5, but Christian Gonzalez should be back. Did not put up numbers in this spot here, but did score a touchdown against the Seahawks, his old team. Diggs at this point, I think Diggs is just cooked, but what do you do from a number perspective? Yeah, 32. Whatever his receptions, because Diggs' receptions could be more attractive. He's obviously not a big yard guy, but they still could rely on him on third down stuff, move the change, short yardage. Plus 104 though at 4.5. I was gonna say I want a 3.5, but it's an expensive 3.5, so I'm gonna stay away from that, unfortunately. Let's keep going. Of course, we can look at touchdowns. I'm sticking to like mostly main markets, so we can look at some passing yards, completions, etc. I just don't really have like an amazing, projection or read on how some of these teams are going to, kind of change their offensive system from week to week. Have some hunches on certain spots. Don't get me wrong, but this game particularly, I'm not sure, but I think this could be an over game. So let's actually look at pass attempts for both these guys. 32.5. So May didn't have to do that in week 1. Week 2, but week 1 did. Rodgers sitting around that number in both games, so probably an easier game to project for what Rodgers and that Steelers offense want to do here. Completions, 19. It was 21.5. That's when you're getting into like some semantical kind of stuff there. Like, is he going to throw it? Is it more likely for him to complete passes or just get some throws off? What's his rush yards at? I had Drake my touchdown last weekend. That was awesome. Let's see. Against quarterbacks, rushing, again, we looked at this. Fields did well. Darnold did not. Number 24.5. That does seem high, even though we know May has an upside. We've just yet to see the pass rush for the Steelers wake up to make it so they have to get, or they're getting this great pressure on opposing quarterbacks where they're making them have to run out of the pocket. Maybe this is the week they wake up and do so, but so far it hasn't been the case. Let's look at last year out of curiosity for May. Couple of boom games, big time boom there, 95, 18 against Jacks. So he has had games where he's been, well under this mark. Didn't mean to click that, 2025. Of course, he's playing the snaps. Biggest red zone rush attempts, 10 rush attempts against Miami. Though some of those were kneel downs, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong there. That's Kenny G. So 23.5 has not went over, but he's been targeted in the pass game a lot. There's receptions. It's 2.5 plus money. He went over in both of his first games. We can look at how New England's done against receivers. I mean, Achane's just a merchant. And Genti had a bunch more targets. He went under, but like Zamir White was taking those roles down. Kenneth Gainwell is playing like 5 targets, 4 targets, that role. Though I did see that Rodgers said that he wants to get Warren more involved in the passing game, which is why he is minus 148, had 4 targets from out of the backfield there. See what receivers did well, like with Tucker, Jacoby, wide receiver ones. So the wide receiver ones are still feasting against New England. That's worth noting. But again, that's with Christian Gonzalez out, and I think he is playing this week. I'll pull up Underdog quickly. I don't know if it's confirmed. I know he was practicing. Let's see Underdog and see Andrew Thomas game time decision. Jamar Stewart out. DeAndre Swift looks questionable. Might as well read the news out. AJ Terrell ruled out for week 3. Gonzalez is questionable. Okay, so no declaration, so hard to see. But directionally, though, I would look at Kenny G. This Warren juice is too high. We're still getting plus money on Gainwell. If they do switch the script right there, it could be all in the game there. But intrigued by Gainwell. Jets Tampa, we know that Tyrod Taylor is playing. The Buccaneers, their offensive line is absolutely decimated, which is really tough. Like, what are they missing now? 4 starters potentially. Wirfs is probably not going to be back. I know they just had 2 more guys go on and get injured, unfortunately. Bucky, 6 receptions, 4 receptions. What are the Jets doing to running backs out of the backfield here? James Cook, which isn't. So still 5. I'm intrigued by Bucky. What are the odds looking like? Only at MGM. Okay, because Baker I know is banged up too. Not playing banged up, but there just aren't a ton of odds up for this one. Like Tyrod's 197.5. Baker is high. I kind of like the under in this game, honestly. So I don't think there's going to be a ton of scoring. Pass attempts, Baker's high. Tyrod's pretty high as well. Let's see any starts he made. We don't have that data right now. 40, different situation, of course. Are they going to throw the ball like that? I know Tampa's run defense is stout. They do a great job. What's Breesh's rush yards? 58.5. We'll look at some of the recent running backs. Like Chubb went under, but had that big run. Whether or not they let him in is a different story. Woody Marks by 2. Held Bijan there, but he had that big catch and run. So maybe we'll look at receptions for Bijan. For Brees, it's 3.5. It's higher than I'd like it to be. I was hoping we get a little bit of a discount there. Only 9. Let's look at receiving yards to running backs. Chubb went way over. Bijan, of course, with that 50-yard run, but still cooked that. Tight ends. Pitts went over, but Pitts is obviously like a pseudo receiver. And Nico didn't do great, but that offense is broken in Houston. London as well didn't do great, but that was again like a Penix, opener. That was a tougher one here. I'm intrigued by Breece Hall. It's 23.5. He obviously cooked that in week 1. I like Breece. I like Breece Hall outlooks this week. Also touchdowns. I'm guessing the odds got a lot worse for him because, last week it was like plus 160 because obviously Justin Fields is a threat to steal them. Tyrod is a mobile, but it's not in the same sense whatsoever in terms of mobility. It doesn't have the same juice as, Fields has, which from a running perspective is big. Passing is kind of indifferent here. Directionally, I do lean to the Jets and definitely to the under. I think we have a lower scoring game here. And Sauce, if he is, playing well, we can go at receiving yards again. What's up, Mike? Is 70.5. Now, Ibuka, I think, practiced today. Or maybe they give him the day off. I saw the report. What was it? I practiced today. So Ibuka practiced. This seems high, though, man. Like, wide receiver 1, Metcalf went over. Calvin Austin had his day. Aaron Rodgers with that revenge narrative going. We know Baker's going to sling it, but this does seem high for Mike. I definitely directionally look for the under for Mike Evans on receiving yards. Not open a ton of shops currently are showing with props.cash, but I like the under here for Mike Evans under 70.5 receiving yards. Vegas, Washington. Big news. No JD5. If you've been watching stream all week, I've been saying it since I don't know if I talked about it Monday, but Wednesday with Jake, I was saying like JD5's not playing. And now that's confirmed. We got a Mariota show rocking. So what does that mean for this offense? First things first, the Commanders' offense has not been great this year. Anyone knows that. They left some points on the table against the Giants. That game could have been a bigger blowout, and they could have scored more points and flirted with 30. So, like, tough to say, but we saw, what Dallas did. But Dallas' offense looks good to the Giants. They let up, 30 plus there. But then against the Packers, they were getting blown out until they scored a couple of like garbage-ish times touchdowns in the end of that one. Almost got me a backdoor cover there, but not quite. Defense can't stop anybody. And now, of course, we have Mariota. I think there's a pretty solid chance that Mariota elevates this team. That's not to slander JD5 and not because as a Commander fan, I love Jaden Daniels more than anything, but because Jaden just was off to start the year. It does not help that Terry McLaurin missed training camp, that Noah Brown sucks, that his second best weapon, how do I frame this? Obviously, Eckler's hurt. Debo's their second best weapon, but their third best weapon is Zach Ertz, who has been playing great football. So, like, kudos to the old man there. But Jaden missed a couple of big throws in both weeks where he had Terry wide open week 1. He was also just off target in both games, and the pressure rates have been crazy. Of course, going against Max Crosby is not going to be a great situation, but we saw last year, even though it was against the Panthers in the blowout in the second half, as well as when he did play last year. Let's pull up 2024. 205 against Carolina, 161 against Dallas, which wasn't great. But that was, after the fact. That was when they, I think, had everything locked up there. But either way, I think Mariota can actually like still move the ball against this like really not great defense whatsoever for the Las Vegas Raiders. What's his anytime? 185. I thought we'd get better. Bill is at 105. Like, I know Eckler's out for the year and he was taking some snaps, but I don't think that this all of a sudden becomes Bill's backfield. Like, what's McNichols? 360. 475, 460. If you're giving me a commies running back, it's Jeremy McNichols to score. I think that so it's also Rodriguez too at 230. Long story short, I'm not betting Bill. 360 at FanDuel. Okay. McNichols, TD, 360. I'm more confident in Rodriguez, excuse me, but I do like McNichols as well. You're betting one of the two backs at this rate. Honestly, you might as well bet both. because one, I do think that these offenses can still score. I think it's going to be a higher scoring game even without JD5. But the problem with Bill, and let's pull up the numbers to talk about this here, he hasn't caught a single football. Let's look at the historical lines against running backs this year. Travion had 6 catches, Ramondre 2, Omarion just 1 there. Not a ton of snaps percentage in either game, and nothing. And this is like, okay, small sample size. He's not playing. How can you say that confidently, especially because Ekeler was the guy who was taking those reception opportunities? He wasn't a receiver in college either. Does that mean no, he can't eventually turn into a receiver? No, that does not mean that whatsoever. But it does mean that expecting him to just all of a sudden take over our Ekeler role from a veteran who is one of the best pass catching backs of the last couple of years is just going to go to this rookie when they already have guys that they trust in a McNichols and a Chris Rodriguez. So I think McNichols comes in and plays that, kind of Ekeler role. Bill does probably get some more carries because of Ekeler being out, though. It's not like Ekeler was eating up carries anyway. But long story short, I think betting like a Bill touchdown or even Bill receiving yards or receptions, it's not even listed right now. So we'll have to see what some of the odds come up here at. But for that side of the football, I'm definitely all more in on McNichols and Rodriguez, especially from a scoring perspective, because I do think points will be scored in this one. But some Raiders, Genty, talked about this on stream with Jake. So he was kind of advocating for, Genty Rookie of the Year to bet it now because probably the odds have shifted. And my counter to that and my devil's advocate was I think you could wait one more week because Washington's running backs, this is reception. Let's go to rush yards here. Jacobs had 84, but that was a game where they obviously had a big lead. He had some good runs. I think they overall did better than the box score in terms of the rush defense in that one. And then in week 1, they, of course, swallowed up everything that the Giants were trying to do. Genty, they haven't given him those crazy carries, 56% of snaps, 86, but he looked terrible in pass pro. Rush attempts only 11 after a 19er. I think that the Geno Smith game on Monday was overblown. Let me put it this way. Overblown is not the right word. He sucked. But I don't think that that's the norm, right? I think Geno's proven already many times that he is a better quarterback than what he has shown on Monday against what could be just straight up one of the best defenses in all of football, against the pass, against the rush as well. So I think that Geno has a ton of success, and I don't think that this is the game where, Ashton Genty breaks out and runs rampant. They give him the ball 30 times and like they run it that way, and that's how they win this one. I think Geno still is allowed to sling it and does sling it. And I think that there will be more value in potential like ROI markets or offensive rookie of the year markets in week after this week, because I don't think that this is automatically going to convert into a Ashton Genty show. So I definitely still like Genty's under. And I don't think that you should be hastily betting on Genty right now to like win offensive rookie of the year or anything like that. I think he still could have some value and is still a good football player. But as just we currently are where we are in the season and what is going on right now, Ashton Genty in this matchup, I don't think is going to be one where he just turns up. So I'm fading Genty rush yards this week. But that being said, like I mentioned, I still like the over in this one. So because I still like the over, I think that there are going to be some points scored and it's going to come from both sides. So I do like one of the backup running backs via Chris Rodriguez, honestly, and McNichols to potentially score in this one. But let's go to receiving yards and we'll go player by player here because I think that the Geno Smith game, like I said on Monday, wasn't like a fluke per se, just very tough situation, very good defense. He didn't play well. He's better than how he played. So Commanders, we saw what the Packers did to them. The Giants, they just roughed them up with pressure. I don't think the Commanders are going to be able to get that much pressure on this Raiders team. Jacoby Meyer, 62.5, has gone over this number in both games, even though this one, I guess, was a little bit more blowout situation here. But look at the receivers. So it's tough to look at with the obviously how the Packers do it, but Dobbs not even coming close, which is not really an indication of Dobbs or the Commanders' pass defense. Golden with a goose egg, but if you watch that game, Golden had like 3 opportunities to make like plus plays. Wicks flew over. Jaden Reed hurt in the first play. Now, Neighbors had 71 still, which to Neighbors' perspective looks low, but like that was a game where they couldn't do anything, and Wandale did a good job there. So I think that the Commanders' defensive numbers are still very overrated, and I think that there's going to be value. I love Brock Bowers. What's his tutty? 140. Let's do some line shopping here. I know he's banged up, but Bowers, I'm writing down Bowers tutty because I think that if he's like any more healthy, like, I know it's a tough situation from Raiders coming from the West Coast back to the East Coast on a short week, and the Commanders have the mini bye with Thursday. Of course, they're out without JD5, but again, I'm not like sold on this team, like not this Geno's performance here. What's passing touchdowns, honestly? It's only 103, 135 at Fanatics. Yeah. If you can bet at Fanatics, Geno, 2+ pass TDs. I'm all for that. I think Genty still could score, of course, because if they get to the red zone, he just, runs when they're going to give it to him at that point, probably. But no, give me Geno 2+ tutties, passing tutties, and some targets for touchdowns in this one, because again, I do like the over here. Genty unders for rushing, but receiving, I like Bowers. I know he was banged up and he was hurt. Now it's a short week. He could still be hurt, and this could just be a bad bet. But obviously, I'm not even basing this off Kraft going crazy. Just middle of the field defense for Washington is a problem. Like Bobby Wagner, as much as I do love and respect him for still, being a very good contributor, all things considered, he was like in coverage on Kraft, and Kraft just smoked him. And Bowers is Bowers, even with him being hurt. Dante Thornton, 45 and 20. I think all these numbers are kind of low. What's Trey Tucker? Targets, 8 targets. Thornton had 4 and 4. Bowers had 8 and 8. Myers had 10 and 12. So obviously, unsurprisingly, he is the dog there. But give me Bowers anytime / OREC yards. Geno 2+ tutties, and I like Thornton or Tucker. I'll confirm which one I end up playing as well, but I like both of them, honestly. Like, I really do. I think that Washington is not going to be able to. Well, in that case, honestly, what's Geno? Okay, there it is. And pass yards. 238.5. Let's look at the market there. Good value on underdog with 235.5. I think Geno, it's a pretty clear bounce back spot. I think Washington is going to come out a little bit, more hyped than they did on Thursday. They just basically blew. But yeah, I'm all in on Geno. So that's a big action there. Overall, we're liking Pittman over receiving yards, McNichols and Rodriguez touchdowns, Bowers touchdown and over receiving yards, Geno passing yards and passing touchdowns. Big fan of Brock Bowers and Geno Smith and the Raiders. In Washington, I didn't bet them to win. I like the over. If anything, didn't play anything straight, but lean over. And I don't think that the Commanders are going to be, balling or anything like that with it, or be really hindered, I should say, without JD5. Of course, he's much better than Mariota. But moving on here, Rams Eagles. We're going to be talking props, but I did bet the Rams money line and the Rams plus 3.5. And this is all speculation here. There are 2 points that me and Jake made on stream Wednesday, so I'll keep it pretty brief here. But basically, my thought process and his as well, like combined together. We haven't seen the Eagles play from behind yet this year. They probably should have lost week 1, and week 2 they just pushed their way, which is a little bit annoying. But at the same time, it's winning football. They win games. Like, cry to yourself. Honestly, I'm a Commander fan. I'm even saying that. But if they play from behind, which is obviously going to happen at some point, and the Rams present the best chance to do that, and if the NFL does officiate the push like they seem like they're going to start doing, which is calling more false starts, calling more offsides, and then stopping those from being, 4th down in inches and 1s to, 4th and 5s and 6s, or 3rd and 5s and 6s, and you have to make Jalen play that drop back pass game. Yes, he's been patient. Yes, he hasn't turned the ball over. Yes, his sack rate is low, and yes, his ADOT is ridiculously low, with his time to throw is ridiculously high. But a little bit spiel on why I backed the Rams there. The Rams have given them the biggest fits of any team in the past 2 years. It's probably Philly, Green Bay, and then LAR for the best 3 teams in the National in the NFC. And the way that the Rams have lined up to them, I think that the Rams win this game. I'm not as impressed by their performances so far against Houston offense that's inept and a Titans offense that's even more inept. But I'm taking the Rams. I took them. I bet them 3.5 -110 on Novig, and I bet the money line also at ESPN Bet because that was the best price with liquidity included as well. Novig had a good price, but it just wasn't a lot of money in there. If you guys aren't using Novig, use promo code BetSmart. But let's look at some props here. Because the tush push, I think, is shot, I would be more inclined to look at Saquon touchdown. Like -150 is obviously kind of crazy, and we know Jalen, poaches those, but I like Saquon touchdown. I think that let's look at the numbers here for historical for touchdowns here for running backs. No back has scored against them, but again, we're talking about a horrible running offense and overall offense in Houston, and a horrible rushing offense and overall offense in Tennessee. I think Saquon could still have, himself a day. His yards per carry are pretty low, but I think Saquon touchdowns in play, especially if the tush push. If my tush push hypothesis that they use it less, or shouldn't they use it less, and they're going to try to use it, or if they get penalized on it a few times where they can't use it, that's really more of the thesis. Not that they're going to stop using it, because why the hell would they stop? Only stop if it is a penalty and they cannot use it. If that hypothesis is true, then I think it becomes a Saquon game. But I think it also becomes a receiving yard opportunity because they're going to have to throw it more. And A.J. Brown, 62.5. That's obviously very low. Let's look at some receivers. But again, these numbers are skewed because of how bad the competition is. WR1 and 2 both did decent from Ward. WR1 did horrible, but WR2 and 3 did solid for Houston. So that makes me want to look at Tay. Had 53 against KC. He's playing the snaps, 6 targets. Last year, they played in the playoffs. He only had 21, but they relied on Saquon. I think they are going to rely on Saquon as well, but those numbers are kind of unplayable. What are his receiving yards? 16.5. I lost this last week. Receptions 2.5. If it was plus money, it'd be a different story here. But at 115, I don't really love. Only 2 targets last week, 5 against Dallas, but converted just 4 or 5. We actually dropped one in that game, I think. Receptions, Smith is 101. I'd rather go for yards straight up, honestly. Give me Devonta Smith. Give me Devonta Smith receiving yards. Where to go? Go pull him up this way, actually. I think that while they're going to be able to run the football, they're going to have to pass it more than the way that Jalen Hurts has been throwing it so infrequently. And I think Devonta Smith as one of those recipients is absolutely worth it here. So D. Smith, and 49.5 at FanDuel. Loving D. Smith this weekend. On the Rams side, who's going to turn up? Obviously, it's probably arguable wide receiver 3 in the NFL, Puka Nacua. This guy is a dog. But Tay Adams is a little bit more intriguing. Wide receiver 2s could have success, could have been higher for CD, who's obviously, who's better, CD or Puka? I think that's really a good question. Let me know in chat if you guys have a strong opinion. I think that's a really good question. Both obviously insane elite wide receiver 1s, but who's better, CD Lamb or Puka Nacua? I think at this point, that's a conversation. 83.5, man, for Puka. Obviously can blow that out of the water. But I do, what's his receptions? Probably high as hell. 6.5. Targets 9, 11. Puka's just a dog, man. Catchable. Interesting numbers there. I'm intrigued by I don't know which one it's going to be. I just feel strongly about Smith over receiving yards, Saquon touchdown, Rams money line, Rams 3.5. I don't know which Ram is going to be the one to. This is low as well. So that's it. I don't know why I'm forgetting that the passing yards market works. If I don't know which receiver, I don't feel confident. Which one is going to be the one to turn up? Why decide when it's just the quarterback decide? Because obviously that's where the thought process is. I like Stafford over 28.5 passing yards, and I want to look at Hurts. based on the get 101 yards, but he's only throwing the ball 23 and 22 times. This number being higher, I think, indicates a lot. It indicates, I think, a little bit does back my thesis, though. I don't know what it closed at these two games. Let's see. 27-33. Who do they play? They played Dallas. So let's quickly do a pivot just for some science here. Or how should I? What's the best way to do that? No, I have to go to the Giants. Okay. Passing yards against. Jalen Hurts with the 23 number there. What am I looking for? I just confused myself. 22 completions, 19-15. Yeah, it makes it so hard for like fantasy too because he's just not throwing it. And like, let's see, last year, 2022, relying on the ground, which they're definitely going to do again. No reason not to. But I don't think they're going to do it in like the tush-push fashion. So again, that's why I'm on Saquon Tutty. Completions, pass attempts, 2022. LA. I want to look at everything. But what did Hurts do last year from this perspective? Had a couple of big games, but did keep it low. Start off the season firing. I don't know what to do with the passing situation for the Eagles just yet, except for the fact that I do like Devonta Smith to go over 49.5 receiving yards in this one. Rams money line, Rams plus 3.5, Smith over 49.5 receiving yards, Saquon anytime, Stafford over 228.5. So this game and the Commies game are two games where I have strong feels on. So we have action on. In the Commies game, I saw a lot of people hop in, and I appreciate you, number one. But number two, we were looking at McNichols and Rodriguez to score a touchdown. I'm fading Bill there. Bowers touchdown over receiving yards. Geno 2+ touchdowns and passing yards. So pretty good, strong opinions on those games. Hopefully they're right. Could be wrong. Time will tell. Atlanta, Carolina. Carolina's obviously dog. Atlanta is missing AJ Terrell, which could be nice. Still don't know what to think about Penix, because they're just going to give the ball to Bijan Robinson, the absolute animal. Like, there's no reason not to. The defense for the Panthers, especially stopping the run, dating back to last year, where they haven't made a ton of big changes there, are just abysmal. James Conner couldn't do much, and Benson couldn't do much. They didn't really have to because they were, winning so well. But ETN rocked them in week one, where he looks healthy and good. Bijan's obviously on another planet. He's insane. What's his touchdown? 170? 225, dog. Oh, my God. 240 at some shops. I mean, listen. I can't say don't color me shocked there by any means, because he's obviously a dog. But I don't have such a strong feeling on this game. I think Atlanta could be live to blow it because Atlanta always blows things, even though they are a good football team. I'll scroll through the markets here, but going to keep it brief on something like this where I don't really love anything or have a strong opinion. Maybe something will pop. Intrigued by Pitts, but again, it's just like this could be a game where Penix throws the ball quite literally 23 times, which isn't even saying much. How many pass attempts? Yeah, 21, right? Against the Vikings, where he didn't need to do anything. This could really be that situation where they just hand it off. What's Algiers touchdown? He's probably plus 150. That's my guess. Haven't looked at it. 179. Okay. 240. Oh, so I was way wrong, because I know that they like to let him like poach things, and he plays a good amount of football there. It's not like he scored I guess it was kind of garbage time-ish in that tutty against Minnesota, but it kind of wasn't. Bijan probably deserved to score that based on the game he had. But I'm writing this down, Algier, because like we know they run wonky stuff. Like, for example, like my looking for RB2s in Washington is more because I don't think that Bill is all of a sudden going to get this RB1-esque role. But my thoughts on Algier isn't because of like lack of role. We know what what Bijan can do. It's more just because of how they do utilize him in some of these situations. So I'm intrigued by Algier at 240 to steal some carries, make Bijan fantasy owners pissed, and repeat the cycle that's been existing forever. Other touchdowns, intrigued by Pitts. He's been getting some good burn, and he looks athletic, which I think is also like another important thing. That sounds odd to say, but like he's just getting better, which is always nice. 3.5 receptions too. I'm writing that down as well. Pitts 4+ Rex. This isn't bet just yet. I'll have everything that I bet I'll be posting. Excuse me. Of course, I'll be confirming on Sunday stream because I stream Sunday, 10:30 Eastern until 12:30 or like 12:45. So right before kickoff. So make sure on Sunday you're rocking with me as well there. But I'm not locking it in just because I'm not convinced again that Penix is going to throw the ball more than 20 times. And yeah, he can still have 4 receptions in 20 dropbacks. But also think about what I just said there. We still have London, of course, Bijan out of the backfield. Mooney, who almost had a tutty. Just not enough volume to sustain a situation like this. And then on the Panther side, I just don't even want to pretend there. So we have a bunch of games to get through here. We have a bunch of action. We love that LV game, love that Rams-Philly game. So let's keep going here. Cincinnati, Minnesota. Again, 2 backup quarterbacks. Excuse me here. Browning and Wentz. I don't think Browning, obviously both. Browning's definitely a drop-off. Wentz is like probably the same, if not a slight drop-off, though you could probably make the argument that he isn't. You have, of course, one of the best head coaching, play calling, offensive-minded guys in the NFL there with Mr. KOC. But Carson Wentz also sucks, so that is interesting, and we don't know exactly how that's going to play out because he stinks, and pretending he doesn't stink is a choice if you want to make it that. But let's go look at some markets here. Nothing that I love. The total is low. I kind of like the over. I know Chase Brown hasn't had a great start to the season, but at 120, he did score in week 1. His advanced metrics in the film guys are saying that like he is better than the numbers here. Algiers the only running back that scored tutty, which isn't that odd because dog water Chicago, and then Bijan arguably got screwed there. Wide receivers have scored just 1 tutty. That's Odunze. Against the Vikings here, tight ends, no tight ends. QBs. Caleb had that rushing as well. I'm not going to probably belabor this one. I don't think that the Bengals offense is like at a concerning point in this one, especially because the Vikings do allow pretty solid receiving numbers to receivers. Diami went over BTJ with all these drops and like oddness that was going on with him low. Hunter was playing more D. Judy dropped some passes. Seti's just a guy at this point. And tight ends, of course, Fannin cooked. And Njoku did not. That was kind of a switcheroo there. Then Strange is playing some tight end where he normally plays big-time slot. But again, Travis Hunter, actually Parker Washington plays big-time slot. Travis Hunter was playing more defense because of an injury. Just something to note there. Doesn't matter for this one. I kind of still like the over. I don't have enough thoughts here on backup quarterback situation. So let's go to Houston, Jacksonville, where I definitely directionally see value on the under here. I think that the Texans offense is abysmal and the Jaguars defense is actually pretty solid, especially being able to rush the passer for this bad Texans O-line. On the flip side, it just hasn't clicked just yet for the Liam Cohen, Trevor Lawrence marriage. Whether or not it will or will not or ever does, is TBD, though it's probably likely to eventually happen. It's just like I can't bet BTJ with all the nonsense. I don't know that the injury stuff is real, and he clearly looked like he didn't want to catch the football, which is just odd. He still had 12 targets in week 2, 7 in week 1. Puka went rampant, but that's again Puka Nacua, dog. Look at some rushing situations here. 15.5. I kind of like this under. Etienne looks great and has been going over, but this run defense, we know Bucky and Rashad, though that doesn't really matter there. Kyron was held under. Bucky went over. He was playing a great game. Bucky's a dog. 6-2 for receptions here. This might be one where I go through a little bit quickly here, honestly, just because I do like the under. Let's see some touchdown odds just out of curiosity here. Of course, we could find some EV potentially. Stroud, Chubb at even money. I mean, they're giving him the ball. Woody Marks, though, did play a little bit more there, 27, but somebody was ruled out, if I'm not mistaken. It's escaping my mind in that game. Let's see if the injury stuff jogs my memory, or maybe I'm tripping. Obviously, Knicks. Maybe I'm just tripping. I don't remember exactly. But Woody Marks did play a little bit more, as we see here. Pretty solid snaps. One target. I want to go rush yard. 70 attempts. Only 3. Okay, so it was more in the passing game, which Chubb had that one big one. Again, as somebody who likes to over here, yeah, I could look for some unders, but I feel like the market is pretty solid in these unders because, like, if like Travis Hunter, if he plays more offense, like he could have had more yards in week 1, would have went over his number. Week 2, it's the defense. It's just a guessing game. BTJ, a guessing game with the injury and his like the lack of desire to catch footballs over the middle of the field, which it's easy for me to say sitting behind this computer because that shit probably hurts so badly. But it's the life you chose, so that's a whole nother story. ETN, how did he do in the receiving game? Did well there, but I think Tutton, the new kid, who might be the move to look at here, he looked good. Let me pull up rush yards and see if he has a number so we can look through his props. They're not showing anything here on PC. I'm sure there are odds up somewhere, or if they're not up yet, which is still possible, I'm sure they'll be up. But that kid looks good, like really good. And they also have that other third down back that does play a lot more in the receiving game. So again, like, am I dying to fade what has happened so far to like back ETN and like think of like a massive shift overhaul? Like, no. And of course, the situation where ETN, it's a low number. He's so athletic, could break that in 1. But how many targets is he even getting? 3 and 3. Okay. I mean, they did the check down game with a bad O-line. Jaguars O-line is solid, but that Houston pass rush is so damn good. Like, so damn good. So I'm going to have to be that guy here on this one, and just with not a ton. Again, you don't need to bet every game on the board. The games that we bet being Washington LAC, being Washington LR, I mean, and Eagles LAR. Like, we have like 4 bets in each of those. And we have 2 bets in the Buccaneers and not Buccaneers, the Falcons and Panthers game. Games you don't like, you don't have to bet those games. Green Bay, Cleveland, another one where I'm not so sure how this is going to go. We don't know the status of Kraft and his injury. They said he's probably fine, but like he's hobbled, and like they're 7.5-point favorites on the road, no less. Golden, I'm intrigued by because, again, you see a goose egg here. Only 2 targets. Both of those could have went for big yardage if caught, and one of them was probably an underthrow by Love, realistically. So definitely something that probably should have been caught realistically there. Snap percentage going up, of course. No Jayden Reed. He hurt himself, unfortunately, broke his collarbone very early. And that video of Jayden Reed, if you guys saw it, of him in the hospital after surgery, just straight up being like, go Pack, go, like we're winning the bowl this year, like clearly like meted up like big time. Epic video. 12 out of 10. Shout out to Jayden Reed, man. Packers have that aura, as the kids say. I was hoping this was somehow still 2.5 or just a better price. Maybe there is one at FanDuel 120 because Wicks, separation was never the issue with Dontavian Wicks. I'm actually still writing this one down. Wicks plus 120 because I do like that price on the over. Dontavian Wicks had 6 targets. Obviously, he has been playing snaps as well, and that's with Jayden Reed now out. If Tucker Kraft is banged up like that, it's going to be Romeo, Wicks, and what's his name? Why am I forgetting? And Golden and the rookie. And Wicks is going to be, I think, the more reliable guy in like the short yardage game, while Golden is throwing the ball down the field to him, Dobbs down the field to him. What Jordan Love is doing is just so epic, in my opinion. Like, he's so damn fun, avoiding sacks. The Packers offense, like the antithesis of like the Eagles to an extent, where like Jalen Hurts has his time, is looking to just not turn over, not take sacks, which of course, again, is winning football. So while I sound like a hater, is it entertaining football? That's a different question. Is it winning football? Absolutely. And that deserves, credit and love. But Jordan Love, speaking of the devil, sits back there, has his time, and throws freaking darts down the field, across the middle of the field, all over the field. So just shout out to Love here, but like the market here, so he's 226.5. Browns defense is definitely like decent realistically. Like let's see the pass yards here. Lamar, fourth quarter comeback. Joe Burrow, very, very low. They cooked them, but like again, Jim Schwartz always cooks Burrow, and the Bengals always start slow. So I'm not like using that as a big metric point there. And Lamar, 4 tutties, freaking animal there. I directionally lean toward Love's over, honestly, on passing yards. I see 220.5 at FanDuel. I'll write that down if that's still available. We gotta, check some of these lines. They're not real time updating, but I just wrote down FanDuel. Love 220.5 pass FD. I think that even without Reed, I know that the rush defense for Cleveland, which I'll pull up, so we see some numbers here, is obviously still a very good unit, and we'll confirm that here. Depth chart. Now I got to go right here to. Where is it? Here it is. Historical lines. This is one of the best features of Props.cash, which you can get a 30% promo code off of Props.cash. Save 30% off your first month of Props.cash. Of course, MLB is still going. NBA is around the corner, which is their bread and butter. So maybe actually good move to wait a couple of weeks, honestly. I don't think you should. I think you should probably lock it now. But if you don't have it yet, you could wait. It makes sense. Running backs. What am I looking for here? I'm going to go to rushing yards. Jacobs 78.5. Now this is high. See what they did here. Couldn't do anything on the ground, and they shut down King Henry. Judkins, I already like this under, man. I don't know that Judkins. I know his snap count is probably going to increase. Of course, they said he was only going to play a few snaps. Only played a few snaps, but those few snaps were epic because the guy's mad talented. But this to me is high, honestly. I kind of like Judkins over here. I like Judkins under here, excuse me. Receiving yards, we know they're going to be throwing, but again, this is not a game where I have a ton of love for. I'm going to back it on the Wicks train. He's just a great separator, and the Browns do play a lot of man coverage where Wicks can win, I think. The problem is going to be him actually physically catching the football. That's been his problem in the NFL. He's a young kid. Again, he's one of the top players in separation coming in and year out. I'm writing down Wick stuff I did. And let's look at touchdowns and see what we can see from odds here. I do think this could be a very slow, boring, under type of game, though. Don't get me wrong. I think the Packers do win I don't know what their future schedule is on the top of my head for Survivor stuff. So I'm not going to go and make a big declaration. I did my Survivor picks. I'll reveal that. But let's see here. Again, we don't know with Kraft for sure. Fannin 320. Teddy Tillman 254. I'm a big Tillman guy. He's got 2 touchdowns back-to-back games here. Receivers, only Tesla score, but we don't know. Well, Detroit's offense is still good. This Packers D is so good. This could be just like a domination. It could be a second half. They're running the football out. The market disagrees, though, as it went down from 8.5 to 8 to 7.5, excuse me. So maybe there's something they know that I don't know. I should say there's definitely a lot of things that the market knows that I don't know. I'm going to move on from this one. Don't have really strong opinions, except for Wicks and Love. So, again, the games that we love, we have multiple plays in. No pun to Jordan Love there. Games you don't like, you don't bet. That's how it should be. Bunch of games to go, boys. I feel like we missed some stuff. This isn't 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. No, I'm just we're just talking ball. We're getting through all the games. It's sick. Denver LAC. I bet the under. There was some market resistance. Let me pull up the game line market quickly. Just out of curiosity to see if the resistance was because it was 47.5, which is obviously a key number. I didn't get that, unfortunately. I got the 46.5. Was there more resistance there? No, that's what it's sitting. I'm seeing 46 and 45s. I actually think I just got a flat 46. I'll confirm that in a second because transparency here. What did I bet? I think it was a flat 46. It was a flat 46, 110. Regardless, though, I like the under because while I'm beyond bullish on Herbert and the Chargers, I'm convinced I was low on them for the season. Obviously, upgraded them both weeks. They're legitimate. This is just a tough matchup here. I know the Broncos defense got shredded by DJ on the turf. They're in LA coming back from, Indy, which isn't fully East Coast, but definitely East is difficult. Actually, why do I feel like, hold on here. Chargers also have to have some form of fatigue from Brazil to the matchup they had last week. In LAC. I'm still in on this under. I don't think that means that this game is going to be like a stinker. The total's still 46, so there are going to be people scoring. I missed the days last year when Justin Herbert's passing yard line was like 210, and there were just auto hammers all over the board. Never going to see that again because why would they go away from that? I think the Broncos defense is in make a statement mode. I think this offense is broken, and the Chargers defense is actually that good. Still, despite the early looking struggles, like they have the players, they have the overall talent. We'll go through the numbers here. Hampton 8.5 is low. I know he hasn't been good. Receiving yards, Pollard and JT dismantled that number. I was going to say, I know we got targets, only 2 targets though each game, so that's relying on 1 9-yard reception on 2 targets. That's not good process. Of course, you'd have to be projecting either more usage or absolutely more usage. Receivers, Pierce has been playing a ton, and Pearson Downs went off with Pittman going against Surtain, which is why I like Pittman this week for a bounce back in Tennessee. I talked about that first game. I like Pittman. I don't think this was like out of the Colts really that spread. I think he is like alpha, and they just had alpha on alpha, still had 40 receiving yards. I think this was just a byproduct of the situation. So, quick digression. Pittman over receiving yards I like as well. I should just realize now I forgot to write it down. Genty, rush yards. It's like that as well. Let's see. Sutton, Quentin Johnston, 43.5. So Ladd's at 61.5. I think it's following that same mold. I know he's banged up too, which is never good. But again, it's that same concept of Surtain going to lock down WR1 and WR2 and 3 are going to show the most value. I think that's absolutely valid and absolutely on the table for this one. The Chargers can just spread it out, man. It's a Keenan Allen, 51.5. He's gone over in both of these games here. See some tight end work. Like Chig went under, but again, that offense is disgustingly bad. Warren went over. So who would it be? He's not even listed. I'm not seeing him here. What's his name? Conklin. I don't have anything strong from a prop game here. I'll look at touchdowns quickly, but we'll probably just move on from this one. I'll run through the picks after we find our next like fat batch of plays here that we have, because we have at this point now we have a big handful, 2 handfuls worth of good bets that we found together using the amazing props.cash. I do want to talk about, though, this is something I was listening to the ETR podcast, which is great. Shout out to ETR. They were talking about how Sean Payton is always saying that he wants to only use 2 running backs, but then you got Tyler Bidet taking up a bunch of snaps. I just saw his odds, which is what brought this up. I don't think he's going to score. And they were talking about how it's like, it's like the meme because like Sean Payton, you're in charge of who plays, and you're saying you want to run 2 RBs, but you're running 3 RBs. So like, how are you like complaining to the media about the fact that you're running 3 RBs when you're the one in charge of that? And I have a different take on that. My take is, and this is something that you'll see in every single sport, especially from high-level coaches, which Sean Payton, of course, is, sometimes coaches use the media to talk to their teams. So part of me thinks that instead of it being like, LOL, you're in charge, you're pulling the string, you're the one who's putting him out there for all these snaps, like, why are you saying you want to use 2 running backs? Maybe he's challenging RJ Harvey. Obviously, this hasn't been great. Nothing about RJ Harvey has been great so far in his rookie campaign. I know a lot of fantasy players probably drafted him early, best ballers as well. Not too early, but, expect some upside. They did bring in Dobbins, who had a great year last year and, of course, is a capable player. But my thought process is maybe he's talking to the media about Harvey, who had those 70, rush yards week one. But then again, had the snaps, but no production against the Colts. Maybe he's saying, like, bro, like, I'm challenging you and JK to show up harder in practice, show up harder on the playing field, and make it so I don't have to play Tyler Bidet. Like, I don't want to play Tyler Bidet, but I don't have a choice because you're not doing X and you're not doing Y. So, like, we have to have a guy in there who is doing better at those things than you are. And maybe it's a situation where RJ Harvey is taking that to heart at camp and is playing better practice. I haven't, read enough Chargers beat writers to know if like they've seen an improvement of Harvey or if he's getting more reps here or there or kind of what that status is. But my just overall thought process is maybe just like we saw with Ollie Gordon on Thursday, where it took till week 3 for them to trust him, and Ollie Gordon looked great, scored a touchdown that Achane fantasy owners are probably, pissed about, or Achane anytime touchdown bettors are pissed about. If you somehow Ollie Gordon first touchdown, shout out to you from last night. But I think it could be a situation where like you just got to let them go. Like in like the Hampton, Travion, and the Genty cases, it's different because of how high the capital was on those guys that they used for them. And, especially Hampton and Genty, they're supposed to be like bell cows that need the rush attempts. Like, don't fully disagree with that thought process, though I do think that that's like kind of a little bit like overstated. Like going back to Bill, right? Rookie running back, 7th round pick, first week, 10 carries, 80 plus yards. Second week, they don't put him on the field, doesn't do anything. You had 10 opportunities week 1, and you put up 84 yards. Harvey had 6 rush attempts, those 70 yards, so like a little bit of like an anomaly, only 11 total rush attempts in 2 games. But it could be where like they're just bringing them on because you expect a guy like a Genty or a Trey or an Omarion to produce from day one and be a part of your team from day one. And they've been on the field, not really Trey realistically, but they haven't done so well. And maybe it's a situation where, again, Harvey just needs the reps and we'll get better. So pretty long-winded rant there, but I think that's like interesting for like making you think about certain things differently, which is something that is important, especially in the NFL with such a high variance league. And like, I know a lot of people love to rely on hit rates or just some like very widely available data that is just realistically like not going to help you. If you talk to like, or listen to a bunch of different podcasts or live shows or whatever, even if you don't agree with everything from the other person, or even think that they're the sharpest person in the world, you're still going to pick up some perspective that'll help you make better decisions, especially in a situation like the National Football League where variance runs rampant and things are not sticky. And throughout even a 17-game season, there's not enough of a sample size to like make strong declarations about like what a team is, who they are, and what's going on from a game perspective or from a player prop perspective. So some food for thought for the boys. Unfortunately, going to end that food for thought with we're moving on to the next game because I don't have a strong opinion on some player props here. Directionally lean Allen to a similar, actually, directionally lean Quinton, honestly. Let's go back to the receiving yards for a second. Keenan Allen, of course, still getting fed 7 and 10. QJ had that big tutty, which cashed me on Monday, 7 and 7. So we're still getting those targets. My receivers, Pierce, deep ball kind of guy, bigger receiver, bigger body, fits that mold. Downslow fits the slot mold. So it could be like an either or, which could mean late to Herbert, but I think Herbert's passing yard line is a lot more efficient at this point, considering compared to what the other games we were looking at. Like Love is much lower. We like Love. Stafford, we liked at 228.5. That's much different than 250.5. And we also like Geno as well, which is like, honestly forgot. I didn't write that down. I got to write that down because I love this Geno, honestly. 238.5 is high, but I think it's a better matchup, all things considered. I'll write that down to 8.5. So I actually like Quentin Johnston again. Probably seems square because of like the 2 touchdowns and like he's talk of the town because he's looking good, but like nah, I'm in on QJ. I'm in on QJ again. 3 receptions, have that big long touchdown. Fits that Pierce profile that cooked them. QJ. What's his rec though? 3.5, 125. I think that rec is low. But that rec yard is also low because he is that deep ball kind of guy. He also was liable for like a drop. So I'm going to say rec. I'm actually looking at both. I'll, confirm when I play both, but writing those both down. QJ rec and rec yards, 43.5. Even money. And QJ Rec 3.5. What was that? Minus 125. Decisions to be made there. I actually odds considering. I actually like Rec yards at even at 43.5. Yeah, that's better price than one more yard at Caesars there. Couple more games. New Orleans, Seattle. I'm probably going to be on the downside of a massive Survivor massacre this week when the Saints beat the Seahawks in Seattle. I use all 4 of my entries in Survivor on Seattle, but I do like to caveat that my Survivor pool up until week 3, you can buy back after. So I took Seattle knowing the buyback clause because I'm never going to use the Saints for obvious reasons. So I use Seattle. A lot of discourse about Walker Charbonnet. I think the best way to put it is Kenneth Walker's just a better running back. Like that's just like undeniable. When he is healthy and he is booming, he can fly because there's such a discrepancy on the odds here between Underdog as well as DraftKings. I do want to confirm on my phone really quickly what those odds actually are, because if we're seeing 52.5, that to me is like a smash. I'm looking at week 4. What am I doing there? Where is it? Am I blind? Just a little bit. Here it is. Let's see. Just want to confirm here because there's no way it's that different. Rush yards. Oh, none of them are listed. That's the issue. I don't. Was there Charbonnet news? Did I miss it? Or even Walker news? Very possible I missed news. Quick refresh on Underdog here. Darisaw questionable. Monken, DeAndre Hopkins will get more snaps. Okay. Worthy questionable. Jalen Royals questionable. We saw Swift. Did I miss news here? I mean, maybe they're just slow to post because of that. Because Kubiak said 4 hours ago, you got to find a way to keep getting them both involved, but I see 2 starters in regards to Walker and Charbonnet. So maybe the market just hasn't digested and put out that news just yet. That was like really my biggest talking point for this game, though. Outside of like Seattle money line, obviously 7.5 point favorites. I use them in Survivor, so just transparency on that as well. Olave. Let's see some of the historicals here for this season. Around this year, right? Yep. Calvin, Jalen Warren out of the backfield with that big run. Kenny still went over. Jonnu went under. Calvin under. DK well under. So the passing game was just bad. Tight ends were feasting some middle of the field stuff. So guys who go middle of the field is a worthwhile look. Yeah, I don't want last 10. No. Season. Kittle was middle of the field as well, looking like he was going to dominate before he got hurt. So maybe it's a middle of the field. Maybe it's a Juwan Johnson situation. He's getting the targets 11 and 9. He's feasting. Rattler loves throwing it to Juwan. We can filter the TEs. Like Muth went over. Jonnu under. But again, some middle of the field stuff has been big for going against the Seattle defense. AK, at this point, I'm just waiting for Kamara to get traded. I feel like that's like inevitable. Not going to belabor this game. Seahawks hopefully win by 1 million for Survivor purposes, though the entire world is probably on them in Survivor. I'm curious to see Circus numbers in my pool. Again, you can buy back, so I think a lot of people probably have the same thought process as me because I think it's still easy to buy back considering the field that I play in. Play with a bunch of squares, to be honest. Arizona, San Francisco. We know Mac Jones can support players. They're not even showing odds for Mac because I saw Purdy actually said he might play. So this is going to be a tough one to talk about as well, which is why I'm streaming on Sunday morning before kickoffs, 10:30 Eastern. So make sure you're following at GoBetSmart as well as my personal at Slam Action. If you're watching on Twitter and Twitch, hit that follow and subscribe button respectively there so you don't miss out on stream for this week. And also post a lot of really good content on YouTube. I know you guys are watching on X, most of you guys, but go to GoBetSmart on YouTube and drop a sub. Dropping like a lot of videos on like how to bet anytime touchdowns with different tools. A lot of short videos outlining how different tools are helpful for people. Full-length video reviews on tools as well as also different markets, like the rise of prediction markets, breaking down those platforms so you guys can see why those are like worth using or in some cases not worth using. So at Go Bet Smart on YouTube. Would appreciate if you guys drop the sub there. We'll see what they have up here. Probably not. So, okay, Benson. This is a good talking point. We're looking at a situation where I drafted James Conner. I'm not a big fantasy guy, only playing a couple of leagues. Like, I'm not somebody who's best balling or, drafting 50 leagues and has their shares, written down of players. Like, I respect the hell out of the grind. Don't get me wrong, but that's just not me. Benson is coming for this RB1 role. Absolutely. I think we have not this sheer 50-50. I'm not saying I'll backtrack a little bit. I don't think he's coming as in we're going to be seeing 70-30 Benson this week or by week 7 or by even week 16. But I think it is definitely going more toward, Conner here and Benson like here, closer to a 50-50, probably like a 60-40, which is a very low number now. That's for Benson at this point, 23.5. Conner at 48.5, and this is the market kind of showing that it's like unsure. In San Francisco, of course, these NFC West opponents here. Give me Benson at 23.5. I think that it wasn't like he was just playing because they were blowing them out. Like, he was just playing because they like him, and he did the same thing in week 1 where that game did get a little bit close. It was 2 games where they played bad teams and got out to some leads there and won, but I like Benson. In terms of receiving and stuff, like in terms of the Cardinals, I have Gannon COI ticket. Shout out to Cleve TA. I don't know with this team, but something also that ETR was talking about is figured I wanted to share because it was just a great stat. They're talking about Trey McBride and touchdowns. Like, I'm never betting a Trey McBride at this price just because they were talking about how even dating back to the college, McBride only has like 16 touchdowns where there's just like at this point, like you're expecting variance to come back and, allow somebody that's as talented as Trey McBride and was as heavily targeted as Trey McBride and as talented as Trey McBride to like score touchdowns. But I don't know, maybe some guys just weren't born to score. Like there's some guys who definitely are born to just get in the end zone any way, shape, or form. If they're not that talented, and there are some guys that are the most talented people in the world and they just can't score touchdowns. And maybe that's just what Trey McBride is. Not a lot of odds showing. So let's finalize the last 3 games here. This is a game where I like a lot from a scoring perspective in Chicago. Market completely flip-flopped on the game line perspective. Bears were favorites. Now the Cowboys are slight. 1 point favorites, 1.5, depending where you look, but mostly ones. Total 50. So obviously receivers are expecting to cook here. And give me all the GP. Love George Pickens this week. 54.5. DK, feed me. After this game, actually at the end, I'll just at this point go through everything that we looked at and talked about. Pickens rec yards. Obviously, no Jalen Johnson, so you could be looking for Lamb, but Dak has been so damn good. And Pickens is just such a good player, especially for WR2. The secondary is depleted in Chicago and just not good anyway. And I think Pickens is going to be the big beneficiary here. So Pickens, receptions and rec yards. Okay. Pickens, like the guys that we love, we're hammering, and I'm all for it. Pickens up 3.5 recs. Like that's like, if you're right, it's good process. If you're wrong, it still could be good process, even if it doesn't work out. If it's just bad variance or you completely read the game wrong, it's a whole other story. But I'm all in on George Pickens in this one. Even like what's Tutty? Give me better odds. 155. I'm intrigued. I don't love that price, but I do love, like, of all the things there, like in order, I should probably like receptions, rec yards, like here, Tutty here. I think he'll score, but just price is the most important thing when it comes to sports betting. I think that price is a little bit short, honestly. But in the other markets, I think they're not high enough. Let's go to passing yards. We'll start up top. 264. We know Dak is slinging the rock. 361. Caleb, I don't know, man. The film guys are saying he's not that bad as you think. The box scores are saying it's dog shit. The final scores are saying it's dog shit. Rome Odunze. I probably made a bad trade. I traded Odunze for Keon Coleman and like 2 third-round picks in my dynasty, which is looking like a botch. At the time, I just had like a little. It was like preseason. I had a little hard on for Keon after week 1. I was like, I'm so validated. Then Odunze did what he did, but he's running every single route on the tree. 11 targets, 9 targets. Odunze, I might have botched there. He's just stud. This seems low though. I think this is a game like so. Hold on 1 second. Let me write this down and finish that thought there. I think the best SGP games, like of course you don't need the SGP. You don't need the parlay in the first place, of course. But if you are just want to SGP or you want to make one of those crazy lottery tickets and SGP a couple of games together, to me the best SGP target games are Pittsburgh, New England. Didn't find great bets there, but I think this is an over game. LV Washington, LA Fee. I think both these games are definitely over games. And Dallas, Chicago. I think those games, if you want to target and attack and like build your SGPs, like maybe combine them together if you're the true DGen, or even if you're betting the SGPs, definitely have some DGen in you. Of course, using the boost and whatnot, but those are the games I would definitely target. Back to this, Lamb's number so high. Let's look at some touchdowns. What's Javonte at nowadays? It's probably chalked now and shot, but even money is not as bad as I thought it would be. That looks still bad. Don't get me wrong. Not as bad as I thought it would be. Pickens 119. That to me is criminal. I don't know who's going to score, but I do think that Odunze and Pickens are like safe to go off. I think CD is also safe to go off. Numbers are obviously very high there. Rush yards, Swift unders. Let's look at Dallas there quickly. Some of their metrics so far this year against RBs. Held Saquon. Shipley went over, but what are you going to do? Tracy got smoked there. I'm not sure why they're not showing Scadaboo, who went off. Swift is stinky, man. I like Swift's under as well here. He can't run the zone offense. He just doesn't have the vision. I hit on Swift's receptions last week, but I'm fading his rushing yards, 56.5. And again, I love the over. Fade some runners there. Have a massive list of plays that I'm going to talk about once we go through the final 2 games that we've talked about on stream. So if you guys came in late, you'll still get the whole breakdown of all the plays. We're going to probably move on from this one realistically. Sunday morning I stream at GoBetSmart, so make sure you hit that follow button so you don't miss the Sunday morning stream where we go through all the expected value, use every single boost that we have on all the recreational books, bet EV bets, lock in final game lines, and shoot the shit and talk ball. It's awesome. KC MIG, excuse me. KC, obviously their defense might be bad. Giants coming off the game of the year potential. Obviously week 1 had Bills Ravens, which has much more implications, but that week 2 game, I didn't even care that it ran into the Eagles Chiefs game because that was so much fun, that Cowboys Giants game. Digression aside though, I'm so mad. I guess I'm just the worst dynasty player ever. Also traded for Pacheco like 2 years ago, right before he came back from injury. Gave up a first. I don't think he's dog. I think there's just something fundamentally wrong with the Chiefs' offensive line, at least definitely, which isn't like a hot take. Like they've dealt with a lot of injuries and had some problems there. But Pacheco not looking so great from a rush share perspective, I guess is the best way to put it. Let me go to rush yards. 41.5. Gibbs cooked them. Or Giants did not play the Rams. PC is a little confused. Let me get back there this way. There's Scadaboo. Pacheco, 41.5. Okay. These numbers, these better be updated here. There we go. Rush yards, running back. Okay, there we go. Javonte cooked them. on that crazy game. Bill obviously went crazy. If there is a situation for Pacheco to finally rush the ball, it looks like it's now. Kareem Hunt 26.5. He's just so unexplosive. It is like the more explosive guys who are doing the damage here. Javonte, 2 years removed from that injury, is back to like looking like the Javonte Williams that lit the fantasy world on fire and was awesome. Bill in those small carries. So I'm interested in Pacheco rushing. I know he hasn't been great from a yard perspective here, but I don't think again, he looks physical. It looks like he's doing some good things on that perspective. Obviously, the Giants DL is still good, but they didn't do much to JD5. They didn't do much to Dallas at all. So I'm Pacheco rushing to turn up a little bit here. Receptions here. Neighbor 6.5. Wandale, they're just feeding Wandale. 10 targets. The short passing game. Receptions is 4.5 now, though, so there's really not a lot to like back there. Malik 6.5, 12 and 13. You know, Russ is throwing it. What's Russ's passing yards? Let's go back here. This might be low because, like I said, there is a chance that KC's defense just isn't that good. Like Jalen Hurts did not have to do anything. We saw what Herbert did. Obviously, Wilson's no Herbert, but we know Wilson's going to be taking the shots. He was throwing the ball downfield. He was trying to make plays. Russ 227.5 over. I'm intrigued by Russell Wilson. Because even if this game does get like into a blowout, unless the Chiefs are just getting ridiculous amounts of pressure, which is possible. It's what they've done. Russell's going to chuck it. He's not going to stand there like a statue. It's possible that Chris Jones is in his face. The pressure has been coming from the interior, which is, you know, tough against the Chiefs. That's where they do have, you know, big 90, what's his number, 95, C. Jones here. We'll look at some final other things. Anytime tutties. Chico 129. 175 I like. I don't like enough to play. I'm writing it down out of curiosity because maybe we could find some EV elsewhere. It's a little too low for how he's been performing here. See Javonte. Mike down, excuse me. Javonte scored, even Sanders scored, as we saw. And Bill got his first NFL tutty there. It just seems low still because Hunt is getting the volume. Let's go to Red Zone Rush Attempts. Had 2 of them there. None in week 1. And then Pacheco, only 1. That's the concern for Pacheco, especially from like a fantasy perspective. Like I think he's going to accumulate the yards still and be good in that capacity. But the issues are going to be from the just them giving the ball to Hunt. They just love Kareem Hunt. He stinks, but they love Kareem Hunt. Scatterboom might own the Giants backfield at this point. 190 compared to Tracy's 240. Okay, I was going to say, if those prices were flip-flopped, I'd still be confused. But like Tyrone Tracy publicly was talking shit about the Giants play calling. Then what they do, they put his ass on the bench, and Scatterboo rose and looked pretty solid. I'm not sold that he's actually good, though. And maybe I'm just a hater. 11 rush attempts, 45 yards. It doesn't scream great to me. And it runs violent, and people love that. He's feeling like an identity, Brandon Jones-esque, which is like cool. Don't get me wrong. Like that is like valuable to a team's overall morale, etc. But I'm not sold on Scatterboo. I like Pacheco over rushing yards, Russ over passing yards for Sunday night. Last but not least, Detroit and Baltimore. I bet Baltimore minus 4.5 early in the week. Current market, 4.5 still exists. Minus 109 at Novig. That's the best price in market. Minus 4.5, minus 110s. Standard odds exist. If you want to tail that, I bet Baltimore minus the points. I just think it's such a tough matchup for Detroit. The way that Baltimore runs their offense is like, what was that game where I forgot when it was. I think it was 2 years ago. It wasn't last year when like Baltimore just walloped them. I think it just philosophically, I know there's a new defensive coordinator and of course a new OC in Detroit, but if they keep running that man coverage like they've been doing, like Lamar is just going to run all over them. Derrick Henry is going to run all over them. 250 under. If you're a sleeper player, no, actually under. I know that Baltimore Ravens defense is not that good. Just writing this down, man. I know the Baltimore defense is not that good by any means. They're nowhere near the level of play that they showed in the past weeks, but I don't think this offense is particularly great. We know that the Green Bay is definitely like an anomaly. We know that Chicago's Bear defense might be the worst defense in football, and that's saying something when the Saints and the Panthers exist. And they were playing at home on the turf, which they always do well with. And there's no way they didn't have some familiarity with what they expected. I'm not saying they knew what Ben Johnson was going to do, but they obviously have familiarity with that there. Josh Allen did Josh Allen things. Joe Flacco did Joe Flacco things. Obviously, major opposites there, but so many of these yards came in the fourth quarter alone, which just goes to why this man is just goated. Give me the under on Goff, though. I think we could be in a blowout situation where the Ravens blow the doors off of them, honestly. Henry's at 86.5. That's just hard pressed to like bet numbers that high, even though it's Derrick Henry. He's probably going to go over. Gibbs is low, but it's just the problem is like the rush share, like 94 on 12. The only reason why I had 94 on 12 is because he's a freaking animal. David Montgomery is still in the picture, still going to take those carries, still a good ball player and like, valuable to what they do and who they are as a team. But how the hell do you watch Jahmyr Gibbs go 12 and 94, especially when he does things like get 10 and 3 targets and catch the ball 10 times? Obviously, we know that game was he didn't like put up numbers with those 10 receptions, but like how do you watch Jahmyr Gibbs have the football in his hands and just not always get it there? I mean, they try, but like why give it to Monty, man? Gibbs is just so damn fun to watch. He's so damn good. Glazing aside, though, Zay Flowers, I bet him in both weeks. Receptions specifically, target shares out the ass, and I don't think it's going to regress that much. It has to regress a little bit because it's very, very, very high. But he's just a dog. Like he's just damn good football player, and he is their WR1. This was sitting at 4.5 at like even odds the last 2 weeks, so the number has adjusted finally for week 3. Unfortunately for our cases, Big G's JMO. This is a game where I think he did it last week, so it's not a hot take. But this could be another negative correlation JMO game, under 3.5 reception, over 50.5 receiving yard type of game for JMO. I think if he does torch the Ravens, or if like, I do still think this could be like straight up again blowout type situation where they're just like absolutely smoking them. But either way, even in a blowout, like JMO is the guy who's going to get behind the defense. I like a JMO negative correlation type of situation here. I don't love 3.5 receptions. I like the base, so I'm going to write it down. JMO 50 plus rec yards, but with JMO, you gotta, for a guy with as much variance, bet the variance. 50 plus rec yards and under receptions. I like a negative correlation there. We don't know how much they're going to use, like Isaac Tesla. Let's do some TDs. The Kings minus 210. Gibbs at 120, which is fair. Montgomery 115, also fair at this point. Zay even up money. That's way too high. Give me an under there. Andrews as well. I know we dropped a touchdown, which was tough. Likely's coming back. So from like a fantasy perspective, obviously not a fantasy shower expert, but might have to be a little. I think it might be time to hit the concern button on him. Justice Hill, excuse me. How many did he score last year? I'm out of curiosity. He did score a decent amount last year. 380 at Caesars and DK. I like Hill ATS. Let's look at the running backs catching the football. Swift had 3 and Jacobs had 1. Swift didn't do much with that. Jacobs is not that kind of guy fully, but still at 6 receiving yards, 4 receiving yards. Maybe the Lions defense is better in that regard, but they love Justice Hill. He's a good football player for what he does in his role. All right, I don't have anything else, but again, I'm streaming Sunday morning, 10:30 Eastern. So make sure you guys are following at GoBetSmart so you don't miss a notification that I go live. Let me read through all the picks for today because there's a shit ton. I'll actually read through my entire card. It's mostly everything's there, but the only other things I bet. So I bet Baltimore -4.5. That's still available. I still like it. What I like in this game: Justice Hill touchdown, Jama 50+ receiving yards, Goff under 265.5 passing yards. Giants game, I like Russell over 277.5 passing yards, and Pacheco over 41.5 rushing yards. Bears Cowboys, I like Swift under 56.5 rush yards, Rome over 61.5 rec yards, Pickens over 3.5 receptions, Pickens over 55.5 receiving yards. Cardinals game, Trey Benson over 23.5 rushing yards. Chargers game, Quentin Johnston over 3.5 receptions, over 43.5 receiving yards. Packers game, Jordan Love over 220.5 passing yards. Dontayvion Wicks plus 120 for 4+ receptions. Falcons game, I like Pitts 4+ receptions. I like Algier anytime touchdown. Rams, Eagles, Stafford over passing yards 228.5. Devonta Smith over receiving yards 49.5. Saquon anytime touchdown. Commies, Raiders, Genti under rushing yards. Geno over 238.5 passing yards and 2+ passing touchdowns. Bowers over 55.5 receiving yards. McNichols and Rodriguez anytime touchdown. And then last but not least, Falcons, I like Titans and Colts, I like Michael Pittman. I wrote down Pitt, so that's why I'm getting confused. Michael Pittman over 15.5 receiving yards. So love all these plays. We're going to talk about them all again on Sunday morning, as well as finding more positive expected value plays using Pick the Odds. We're also going to find any last-minute game lines that have positive expected value, some arbitrage for free money that we're going to find as well, and also going to use every single boost at FanDuel, DraftKings, and I'll probably do like ESPN as well this week. So thank you guys all for tuning in. Shout out to props.cash. You guys aren't using props.cash and their amazing historical line feature. This is not a feature that many tools have. And this in itself, outside of everything else, is one of the best aspects of props.cash. Use promo code BetSmart to save 30% off your first month. Absolutely amazing tool to use. Their NBA stuff is also probably the best in the business, and that season is coming very soon. So use the promo code now, make some money in NFL. So next month you're ready for the NBA. But shout out to props.cash. Shout out to you guys. Again, I'm live on Sunday, so make sure that you are ready to go, 10:30 Eastern. Have your cup of coffee, get yourself a Becky, or maybe hit a fat workout and just have me on in the background. We talk ball, and we can get some great plus EV bets in and maximize those boosts. Good luck with all your bets tonight.